Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riv Readers podcast, hosted by Regina Library at Rivier University. I'm Katie McFarlane, the Research and Instruction Librarian here. This episode, we're chatting with Christina Cruz.
So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, that'd be great. So, Christina Cruz, most people call me Chris, and I have been here at Riv 2.5 years. I'm the assistant director of enrollment operations. So basically anything from when somebody calls, I'll get their email that says they're interested. Hey, they'd love to hear about some programs at Riv. I get that to where it needs to go, all the way up to them applying, hopefully getting accepted, and I mail them out a letter that says you've been accepted. So it's nice because I get to work with the undergrad admissions team, the graduate admissions team, professional studies.
Well, that's really cool that you get to see kind of like from the very start
Mhm.
through the finish of someone applying and hopefully coming to Riv.
Right.
Well, would you mind sharing what you're currently reading?
So I am currently reading, it is called Grown Ups, and it's by Marie Aubert, and I think that's how you say her name, but it's one of these, this is like the first time it's been translated. I guess it
Okay.
was in Dutch because she's from the Netherlands, I guess I would say.
Oh,
But it was, I got, there's, I've stopped doing bookstores too much. Like I stay away from Barnes and Noble. I absolutely don't do Amazon anymore, but I have to say, my daughter, she's a 23, she's an avid reader. English major, just graduated from UMass Lowell. She is obsessed with small independent bookstores. So she'll find all of these, like, I don't know if you're familiar with or if you've been to Lala Books in Lowell, because I live in Chelmsford, Mass.
no, I haven't been to that one.
Okay, so it is fabulous. And this was right away. One thing I do, I don't know if you do, but I go right to the worker recommend. Same with the
Mm,
library. Any recommendations of the people in the library, because those are people that I know they may or may not have read a ton of books. They're going to see what sparks their interest. And this was one on that list. It was recommended by someone who'd worked there. And when I bought the book, the woman, she's like, "Oh, that was one of mine." She's like, "I absolutely loved it." And she told me a bunch about it. So I
aw,
grabbed it. And it's I'm having a little bit of trouble. It's a little bit weird. I think the translation.
sure.
Sometimes I find that they are great, and sometimes I find that, you know, not so great, but I'm enjoying it. It's I need something short because I'm waiting to get my book club book because I'm in a book club. And it's called Yellowface, and I actually requested it, but someone has it out at Riv
Yeah, I
Library.
was gonna say I've seen that one.
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna have to jump into my Chelmsford local library to get it. But
Who was the book club through? Is it through your local library
I
or?
actually I started this book club, gosh, it's 15 years ago. Women have come and gone. We started out, we were all moms. Actually, it was a group of my son's friends. They were all in first grade. And we used to just meet during the week, couple hours and whatever. But now it's morphed into, I think there's about 12 of us now, and it's a Friday or a Saturday.
Mhm.
We try to kind of go with food with the theme of the book. I will say 9 out of 10 times the book is not discussed. Unless it's a really good one. I have, because sometimes there are duds. But yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway, this
That's
month, this for October, it's Yellowface, so I'm waiting on that one. Should
mhm.
be, it's supposed to be good, so we'll see.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's really it's cool, but also tough with book clubs where it's like,
Yeah,
if it just doesn't work for everybody
you
or
have to just be low key. I can't be in one of those where people like are expecting me to come like with my synopsis and my questions answered. I just want to, and I
right.
really just like to hear whatever, but like when September was just like, what did everybody read over the summer? And
Mm.
that's why we didn't even get to the book, which I hadn't even read. So.
So you got away with it.
Yeah, but the library is a huge help. I know with myself and most of the women in the book, we all like, we're like, well, what number are you on the list to get the book? Like we all use the library. I can't stress it enough. And like I said, even with my daughter who loves to buy her books, I can't tell her enough. I'm like, just go because then you can get a stack of 10. Like sometimes you guys see me there, I'll get a bunch. I certainly don't read all of them. I'm
Mhm.
like, let me get through which ones look really good. And then I return the other ones.
I do that all the time. Yeah, I check
Yeah.
out way more than I actually end
hmm
up getting to.
Yeah. It's like free shopping. I love it.
I've pretty much started limiting myself to like if I know I'm gonna reread it or I have a feeling that I'm gonna reread it, I'll buy it. But
Right.
if
Yes, it has to have, or if I want to underline a ton
yep,
or
yep.
highlight a ton,
Yeah, if I'm like, I'm probably just gonna read this once, definitely library is the
library.
way to go.
Yep.
Well, what genres do you love to read?
So I will read just about anything, but I mostly like fiction, narratives, novels. I have been trying to get into some more. I used to be a huge historical fiction, but I
Okay.
think it got a little bit depressing with all the, World War II books, all the big ones like The Book
Mm.
Thief and, Sarah's Key and all the, I needed to have a little bit of a break. But I do have to say I like books where it's not a heavy memoir or anything like it. You've ever read Just Kids by Patti Smith?
No.
So it's about, her and Robert Mapplethorpe and their life, like living in Chelsea and in New York City, like during the 60s. And so it's like, it was one of my best reads of this year. I loved it. Or I did just read that, and I got it from the library at Riv. I love when you guys have all those books out. That's where I pick everything. Solito, it was called, by Javier Zamora. And
Okay.
it's about a child. His family's like sending him to get across the border. He's from Ecuador. Those are another type of books I like. It's on the news all the time. Yes, do they embellish a little bit in the book? Of course they do. You learn a lot and you go, oh my goodness. So and that's a book that I've recommended to everyone.
Oh, cool.
But mostly I'd say fiction, but like with a little bit of stuff thrown in there
Hmm.
that you can learn something. I actually also from the library had gotten a couple. Claire Keegan, she wrote like there's this book Foster, and then one called Small Things Like These. And in both of them, it's just kind of like about life in Ireland, like years ago. They're small, they're short. If anybody wants to read something really quick, but like in both of them, you learn something about life at that time there. That's especially, I do recommend Foster. It actually is now in Ireland, part of their school syllabus, and they make all the students read it. I don't know
Oh,
exactly know from what grade, but I'm thinking here at Riv, what a great book for any of our education majors. It's kind of almost like what foster care was like. Has to be like the 50s or the 40s maybe, but it's
okay.
excellent. So I'm kind of all over the place.
Hmm.
I also do have to say I have on my nightstand that I just kind of pick up if I just want to read something really quick to make me tired before I go to sleep. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and it's actually a book of all like word for word journals from the actor Alan Rickman, who played Snape, and
Oh,
he
I've seen
passed.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually got it at book club at Christmas. We do this big book swap. And I was like, and it's perfect because there's no plot, right? There's no
Mhm.
story, there's no characters. You're just reading into what was going on with him at that time. And it's a perfect thing to just pick up. Like people are driving you crazy and you need to just chill for a minute. I even bring that to work, like at lunch, just sit outside and read it for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I read an excerpt of like the beginning, and I think there's an introduction by Emma Thompson,
Yes,
right?
there is. Yes,
I
there
love
is.
like their
Yeah.
friendship over the years.
Yeah,
It's
it's a good
so
one.
heartwarming. And then like his reflections on like meeting the
Yeah,
young actors especially,
right,
and they were just getting their
right.
feet wet with acting. And
And he
yeah,
also is an artist, so there's like illustrations and drawings, and so it's just cool. Again, just to get into somebody's mind,
yeah,
got to escape, as you said.
absolutely. And especially with those short reads like you mentioned, like just something that you can kind of get
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
I
Adds up that how many books I read this year list for
Yeah, which is
sure.
my next question.
See how I rolled right into that for you? I would say I use Goodreads,
Yeah.
and so I'll keep because to keep track of everything I read and what I want to read for the last 5 years, between 20 and 30 books a year
Mhm.
I'll read. I've had up to 30, but usually I'm at about 20 or 21. This year I'm
Okay.
already at like 18, so but some of them are these smaller Claire
Yeah,
Keegan books, but they count.
it
One was a
counts. Absolutely. And it counts rereads too, which I absolutely love. I'm like, you
yes.
should get credit for reading a book twice. Of
I oh
course.
I give myself credit for that, which is my Harry Potter
Yeah.
books, which also is another one of your questions. I'll pick those up and reread those. I am a huge Harry Potter fan.
I used to reread the series once a year, and then at one point I got a little burned out, and I think I had seen
Yeah.
the movies too many times, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like starting to have the picture from the movies in my head when I was reading instead of what
It
I had
changes it.
originally
Right.
imagined. Yeah, because
Right.
I was a kid, like I was the same age as Harry, like when the books were coming out,
Of
basically. So
course you were.
it was
Of
perfect
course you were.
timing.
I
So
was
yeah, it
pregnant
was.
with my first child,
Mhm.
and started reading them, and I was hooked ever since.
They're so great. Yeah, I've been thinking like I need to go
Yeah.
back. I'm about ready to dive
Yeah,
back in for a
dive
reread.
back in there. But it
Yeah.
is true what you said about because there's so many books now that have been made into either shows. or movies, like especially with Netflix,
Mm,
Prime, all of those. So I will say I've gotten into that a little bit. Like I just started, like I had read Daisy Jones and the Six like 2 years ago. And so I just started watching that series, which is kind of good because I feel like you can't read it and then watch it right away. It's too
yes. Have a
close.
little distance.
Um,
Yeah.
right. And then, but there are a couple of movies that I've just seen that I've have on my to read list, and I can't wait to read them. Which is one is that Women Talking, I just watched the movie, and
Okay.
it got like tons of like it got some Academy Award buzz. And at the end when I saw said based on a book, I'm like, oh, I want to read that one. And then I don't know if you are familiar with, I think it was on Apple TV. It was called The Crowded Room with Tom Holland. It was this great series.
Oh, I
It's
didn't hear about
based on this older book
that. Okay.
called The Minds of Billy Milligan. It's very psychological, very excellent for all of our psychology and to our clinical mental health students here at Riviera.
Hmm.
When you're watching one of those on Netflix, like on a weekend, and you go, "Oh my gosh, that was a book," like I get excited for
Hmm.
personally, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And right away, I get out my Goodreads and I throw it on my list.
And it is kind of nice when you've seen the movie first, because
Hmm.
then it's like, then you can picture that in your mind.
Correct.
Yeah, that
Correct.
that was me with like Lord of the Rings. I saw the
Yes.
movies first, and then you get to like read it, and you're like, yep, I'm totally in sync. Like everything
Yeah.
matches. It's fine.
Some of them, like those, I feel like it helps because there's so many characters. Reading those books, I tried reading them years ago and it was just too many names for me. And
Yeah.
then seeing the movies helped me go back and then read the books.
Well, and I've just been recently this past year, there's somebody who did like a fan-made production of like audiobooks of the Lord of the Rings series, but he brings in like he does all the voices just
Oh,
like the movie.
wow.
And I think because it's fan-made and he's not making money off of it, he uses some of the music from the movies too,
Oh,
and it's
so
like
cool.
incredible. It's like completely immersive, like you're listening to the movies, but
Oh,
it's
I would
really like the
totally,
text of the books.
that sounds
Yeah.
great. I got to look into that.
It's so cool. Yeah, I think his name is Phil Dragash. And it's like you can just find it on like the Internet Archive
Okay,
website. But
cool.
yeah, yeah, it's very cool. So how do you choose which books that you want to read? I know you kind of
Uh,
mentioned some of the library displays
right.
or staff
The
picks.
library displays and the staff picks are huge. Also for me on Instagram, I have like a couple of Instagrams that I follow that like will put out books. New York Times will give like the whatever the top 20 that are going trending right now. And then I'll take those lists, go over to Goodread, see what they're about. And my first stop is to check them out at the library and see how they are. But also every once in a while I'll do like a read with Jenna from the Today Show. There
Okay,
have been a
sure.
couple good ones. I will have to say, like lessons in chemistry, which you guys had at the library, so I decided to grab. I loved it, and I can't wait. There's going to be a show coming out, I think, on
Yeah.
Apple TV, just from what everybody's talking about. And then, like I said, when I go to my book club, or I'll just try to see. I have friends that are avid readers, and I'll just be like, "What are you guys reading?" Because I'm like in a slump. Or maybe I see in a magazine. Like I'm not. Oh, from the Oxford Journal. No, People
Right.
Magazine. What's hot to read right now? Grab
Absolutely.
it. That's all I
It's hot for
say.
a reason.
Yeah.
Like people are liking it.
Yep. Yep. But right now, I literally think I have like over 200 books in my to read. So, but I keep adding, I keep adding to it. I can't help
Yeah,
it. But
no, no, the to be read shelf never ends.
no, I'm trying. I'm trying.
But then great books keep coming out.
Exactly. That's the problem.
So I guess just what's next on your reading radar?
So, like I said, I do want to grab those two that I saw the movies, the Crowded Room, Women Talking. I'm thinking about Bones and All. I just saw the movie and it was very creepy. It was Timothy Chalamet was in it, which is
Okay.
why. And I'm not a scary book person, except the funny thing is, like my top favorite book of all time is Frankenstein, which you
Um,
would think, but Frankenstein was more psychologically scary, kind of
yes.
like maybe even like the Stephen King, like the Pet Cemeteries and those, like the serial killer ones kind of freak me out. So I will say Bones and All was creepy, creepy. I don't know that I'd be able to read that while I'm home alone.
Hmm.
But yeah, just those like The Minds of Billy Milligan, some older ones. And like I said, my daughter has so many books that she's bought. I'm like, well, let me go through her stack, which is the last two books that I've read that I've absolutely loved. One was called Happy Hour. The other one was called Sex and Rage. which Eve Babitz. It's like an older book, but that's so relevant now. It was like amazing. But so what I'm reading next is go in my daughter's room and just grab something.
That's awesome. So you have like a little personal library
Yes, I
right at home.
do. I do. But a lot of them are real heavy. Like she's into all that, a lot of the real heavy stuff. I think you have
Mm,
something like light
yep.
that I can just breeze through. Yeah, so there's just so much up on my radar. And like I said, I still come into the library. Like yesterday I was there to pick something up that I had requested, and I literally was walking out and something caught my eye and I ran back in and got it. And I was like, I have to take this one too.
Sometimes then you have your next couple reads like planned
Right.
out and you're like, nope, now I'm feeling this. Like
Right.
I'm gonna just change it up.
Yep. And I know it's difficult, like, especially for students, and I'm sure, like, for faculty alike, you're reading what you're reading for your research or for schoolwork. I was the same way when I was in college. I was a huge reader before when I was in college, and I was an English major. You have to read what you're reading for school. So it kind
Mhm.
of went down a little bit, but I always would have a book, and I'm definitely that person who'll always have it thrown in my bag because even if you just have that little bit of time, and especially now, I'm trying to be off of my phone more.
Mhm.
So, but then again, some people read I know my husband like commutes
Yeah.
on the train and he literally will read entire books on his iPhone. I don't know how. But it's just, I feel like sometimes you need to put the work stuff here and just like whether you're into something funny, I don't know, you're into World War II history, you're into cooking. I love to just sometimes grab cookbooks. So I say just grab that one that you're like, oh my God, I would never read this. And you might love it.
Yeah, and when I was in college, I ended up doing audiobooks a lot because I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I could be working on this project, but like also listening to something, and
Oh, that's
that would
good.
help me. Yeah,
You are
yeah.
definitely multitasking. I'm impressed.
Sometimes to a fault.
No, that's good. That's good.
Well, Chris, it was great talking with you, and I so appreciate you sharing your insights and loved hearing about, all your latest reads.
Well, thank you. And all I have to say is, I'm a huge fan of the library. One time I was in there and there was some book I was talking about with Megan, and she was like, well, give me the name. So I just wanted to also say it's so great that if there is something that you're like, oh, I want to read this, and like talking to you guys, and maybe you guys get that book, which is great. I've already seen you're getting so much more in that's new and fun to read. So,
Yeah, we really are trying to grow, our fiction collection, our young
yep,
adult fiction, especially in response to our spring survey. We heard a lot like, I want, some rom-coms, I want some
right,
fantasy, like just
right,
that fun stuff, that people can grab over
right.
breaks or
Yeah.
whenever. And yeah, take a little escape.
Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna have to venture into the rom-com.
Oh man,
I don't
that's
know.
what I've
I
been
never
lately.
do, but I need something.
Allie Hazelwood, I'm never gonna stop talking her up.
Oh, really?
She's
Okay, I'm gonna jot
awesome.
that one down. Ellie Hazelwood. I'm gonna
Yes.
come in there looking today, maybe.
I think we only have one of hers right now. But I've read every single one of hers and
Okay.
they're fantastic. Like
Okay.
so, so good.
Okay. I'm in. I'm gonna try it. I'm putting I see, now you're making me add another one to my to read.
If you'd like to follow us on social media, we are at Regina Library on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can always reach us through our website. It's been great having you here, and we'll see you again next time.